Well, hey there, my farmer friends. It is Corinna Bench, and I am the founder of this private Facebook group where I am originally posting this training. Also the founder of mydigitalfarmer.com and a co-founder of Shared Legacy Farms. This is the organic CSA vegetable farm that my husband and I have been running for over 10 years now. And today I am showing up to do a weekly video training, which is what we do inside this private Facebook group. If you're new to our community, I want to say a special welcome to all of you. And I want to encourage you to check out our weekly video training like this one every Monday or Tuesday. It kind of depends on my schedule, where I try to teach business strategies or marketing strategies specifically for CSA farmers. Since that's what I am, I feel like that's my area of expertise. And so if you're discovering this on YouTube or on Vimeo, feel free to check us out at our private Facebook group. You can do a search for CSA marketing and you'll find our group. You can also go to our website, which is mydigitalfarmer.com, and see some resources there. So today's video training is the final step in a multi-series that I've been doing on testimonials, customer testimonials, and how to use them to leverage sales for your new customers, specifically in your CSA. And today's topic is going to be on where do you put those customer testimonials once you have collected them, once you've figured out what the formula is for a good testimonial and you've got it and you've archived it. Now what do you do with it? Where do you put it? And so I'm going to walk you through 7 places that I think you could put your testimonial, where I have put testimonials, but I really think that there's probably the big 3 that have the biggest bang for their buck, and I'll share those with you first. But before I get started, I just want to do a little plug. It is coming up, it's middle of August, well, first week of August right now, and in about 2 weeks, I'm going to start the process, maybe 3 weeks, I'm going to start the process of putting together my early bird campaign for my current CSA members. And this is my promotion strategy to get them to sign up for next year's CSA. And I do really plan that out really well. I have an online launch that I give to just them to get them to sign up by a certain deadline at the end of October. And this is something that I want to share with some of you. If you're interested in learning how that works, how I do it, I am going to put together a master class to kind of coach some of you who want to do that through the process. So you'll be able to walk through it as I'm going through it, and I'll kind of be sharing what I'm doing, sharing resources, sharing shortcuts, sharing templates, so that if you want to try this to get a higher retention rate earlier on and get that peace of mind going into the winter, you can kind of walk alongside me as I do it. So I'm going to be sharing more information about that masterclass in the next couple weeks, but just know that that's coming, and I'm excited about it. I can't believe it's already time to start thinking about early bird campaigns. Okay, so today I want to start out by sharing a statistic with you about testimonials. This is from Nielsen, and it says that 92% of people will trust a recommendation from a peer, whereas 70% of people will trust a recommendation from someone they don't even know. Okay, those are still pretty high odds either way, whether you know the person or you don't. That's a pretty good percentage. And so what that tells us is that social proof, that hearing a recommendation from someone, having someone say this product works or I love this product, is a really big deal to help a customer feel comfortable to actually make a purchase. And we've talked a lot in previous trainings about how valuable social proof is to the buying process. It is actually one of the 4 reasons people buy. And I really believe that your potential customers are looking for a testimonial to make them feel ready to make the next step. It's almost like a required step to pull the trigger for them. So this is why it's important to learn how to master the art of testimonials and to put them somewhere in your sales process. So where do they go and how does this work? I'm going to give you just one overall arching principle that wasn't intuitive for me until I began to study this, and now it totally makes sense, and I try to think about this whenever I put a testimonial somewhere. Because the testimonial is so important to helping someone decide to actually buy the product. You want to have a call to action button right next to it, okay? So whether you've got it on your website or it's in a blog post or wherever you end up putting it as we go through here in a second, you want to have a link to buy somewhere in that article or right next to it. So as soon as they see the testimonial, they're like, okay, I'm ready. And they don't have to hunt around for a way to join your CSA or buy your product, whatever it might be. So just keep that in mind as an overarching principle, that it's important to have a call to action. Don't be afraid to put the call to action along with a testimonial. Anytime you have a testimonial, you want to just think in your mind, I need to consider putting a call to action link in here, okay? So let's talk about the top 3 places. I'm going to start with those first, where I really feel like you need to be putting testimonials because they have a lot of conversion. The very first one is a very obvious one, and that is your home page of your website. Okay, you should have at least one testimonial on the home page of your website. Now, if you'd like to see how I have done this on my farm's website, you can go to sharedlegacyfarms.com and just kind of scroll down the home page and you will see where I have put them. I have one kind of, I want to say it might be the 3rd or 4th element on the page, and then there are 2 testimonials at the kind of near the bottom of the page if someone scrolls all the way down to kind of close the deal. So just be looking for that. I think it's important to put your testimonial not first, but maybe halfway down. So after you've kind of defined the problem for people, you've gotten them convinced, you've sort of shown them the process, then you have someone come in and say, and this works. Okay, so at that point they have enough information, introductory information about your product to read this testimonial and have it do what it does best, which is convince them, okay? If you start with the testimonial first before they even know the features or understand it, it's not gonna have the same power. So just keep that in mind when you're putting your testimonials on your page. So I put it in twice. Some websites maybe go 3, I wouldn't do more than that. And if you can, use headshots and actual names of the people who gave that testimonial, right? So the headshot is important because now these words, this testimony is associated with an actual face. It makes it look more authentic. So I actually reach out to the people who I'm going to choose the testimonial for my homepage of my website. This is a big piece of real estate, so I want it to look good. And I reached out to them and I said, hey, would you be willing to send me a headshot? And they were tickled pink actually that I was going to use their quote, and they sent it to me, and then it fit right into my website template and put a little circle around their picture and everything. So it looks really nice. All right, the second place actually this is kind of 1B, okay? 1A is the homepage of your website. 1B would be the sales page of your website, and or the product page. This is another place. So if you probably have information about CSA on your basic homepage, but then you maybe have a product page where a tab in your menu that says CSA, and when they go there, they see the pricing levels or there's more detail. I would definitely put a testimonial there too. In my case, I have something also called a sales page or a landing page, and I talk about this in another video. The difference between a landing page and just a regular website page is that a landing page does not allow the person to do anything but click on one of the buttons in that page. So you design it in a landing page builder. In my case, I use Lead Pages. I have a video demo about that tool. It's a great tool. It helps me really make conversions. And I build that. It looks really pretty. And if you go to one of my landing pages, which like an example would be sharedlegacyfarms.com/sampler, you'll see what an example looks like. The only thing you can do on there is click on the Buy Now buttons, or you can X out of the page. Okay, that's all you can do. There aren't other menu options like on your website. There isn't like Farmer's Market or recipes. None of those menu tabs are at the top. So there's no temptation for a person to get distracted and look elsewhere. And that's why landing pages typically have a higher conversion rate, because the person is faced with one option and one option only, actually 2, to leave the page entirely or to click on the Buy Now button, okay? So I definitely put a testimonial on one of these landing pages on my sales pages. If you go to the sharedlegacyfarms.com/sampler, you'll see how I did it in that case. Again, it's halfway down the page. It's not the first element. And I have a picture of the person who's actually referenced. Okay, so the second place that I feel like is really, really important to put a testimonial, it's kind of easy to do, is in your email sales sequence. Okay, I've talked a lot about this in previous trainings. I use online marketing strategies, right? This is how I build my business, how I build my leads. And how I get customers, I primarily sell through my email marketing sequence. So they come to my website, they maybe download my lead page, my freebie through Lead Pages. They take some time to kind of think about it. They're automatically subscribed then to this email sequence that drips out over the course of, I think it's 2 weeks, and continues to sell them on the product. And I know that this is necessary because it's very rare for people to actually convert the first time they come to a person's website. That usually just industry-wide, even the outsider industry, that's very rare. So knowing that, I need to have some kind of strategy to continue to follow up with them, which is why it's so important to get that email address. So the email marketing sales sequence is something that I spend time composing. And the first time I did it, it did take me probably a good week working on it a few hours every day. But then it was built, and now I have used it twice, like I tweak it every year. But once it's built, it's an integral part of your sales machine. And I have one of those emails in that sequence that's pretty much devoted to a testimonial, where I just kind of share what other members have said about our CSA. And I have like 3 different quotes in there that I put in. I think I may sprinkle an occasional one if it fits another one of those emails in the sequence that kind of fits the topic. I might drop one in there as well. So if I have an email that's talking about a particular feature, like our private Facebook group, I might drop in a testimonial in that particular email about how that person really finds that feature valuable. But I usually have just one email in the entire sequence that's just my testimonial email, and it's kind of a list of really good testimonials. And again, that's not at the beginning of the sales sequence. It's like maybe halfway through where I begin to pitch the testimonials. All right. And then again, like I said before, be sure to issue a call to action in that particular testimonial email, because when someone reads testimonials, we know that now in many cases, that's all they need to cause them to feel ready to buy. And so if you don't have a click, if you don't have a link that's easy to find in that email for them to do it, you're going to miss the opportunity. So just make sure, especially in that email, that you have the call to action. Here's where you can go to sign up. And have that in a couple different places in that email. All right, so don't forget to include a testimonial email, because remember, this is one of the things that people need in order to feel ready to buy. They need someone to say it works, I liked it, and once they have it, it's like they can check off this box in their mind. So definitely find a place to put that in your email sales sequence. Okay. The third big place that I find testimonials to go a long way is as a Facebook ad. This is different than a Facebook post. I'm talking about a Facebook ad, or I suppose an Instagram ad. It kind of depends on if you have a big audience on Instagram. The reason why I say ad is because Facebook, just generic Facebook posts, have such bad organic reach, which you may or may not know. I think like 1% of your audience sees it organically. That means that things that you're just posting on your Facebook page for your business, no one's seeing them. 1% of your audience is seeing them, unless they have the see first option that they've subscribed to. But the odds of everyone seeing it is pretty low. And so as a result, if you want to get it out there, you really do need to put some money behind it. And so sometimes I'll kind of strategically put a Facebook ad that has basically a testimonial in place. And so again, the way that you can do that is you want your image to ideally be a picture of your customer that's enjoying your product, smiley, happy people enjoying your product. So if you can get a picture of your customer doing that, if you can even like pay a photographer to go to someone's house, I'm actually going to be doing that this year, and just do a session of someone using your box, and then you have a whole bunch of pictures to use. And then where you want to put the copy is in the headline, not in the actual text, not inside the picture itself, because with Facebook ads, they have these rules about not being able to put a lot of text in the picture, and then they might, either they'll deny your ad completely, or they won't show it as much. So put that headline, and you can use the phrase like, I'm obsessed with your food, have it be the quotation in the actual headline of the ad. And then there's always like a sub-headline underneath the picture too, and you can have some more of the quote under there. And then of course you have the post copy where you can write some stuff. Here's what one CSA member thinks about our box. So one idea for how to get these kinds of photos is to actually have a photo contest, and I'm actually doing that this month in my private Facebook group for my CSA insiders, and I'm asking them to submit pictures of their food that they're eating, how they're using our vegetables, but I'm also changing it up. I said, hey, I don't just want pictures of your food, like your plate, but here's some other categories. I'd love to see a picture of the unboxing, like all the stuff on the table in a beautiful picture, or smiley, happy people eating my food. I'd love to see a picture of you of someone in your family actually enjoying our food. So I'm giving them some other prompts of the kind of shot I'm looking for. And then I'm going to give $100 off for next year's CSA membership to the winner, and I have a second prize and a third prize. And this has historically been a very, very popular contest for us. The last 2 years kind of go gangbusters. So I'm hoping that I might get some really good images that I can use then for this. Okay, so that's kind of the third big place I feel like you could put a testimonial. You could also just use it. Number 4 would just be a social media post in general, realizing that this is not going to get the same amount of reach potentially because it doesn't have an ad behind it. You may not hit a cold audience, but you can use Instagram or Facebook. And again, show a picture of user-generated content. So you could show a picture of something that your members actually sent into you or something they posted on Instagram that you can repost. And then you can give them props and talk about how this particular member made this with their meal. Doesn't it look amazing? To join, you can go here. Or another kind of idea is just to do a simple quote post where you take their testimonial and you quote in the actual picture. It's the one that I use. I know Adobe Post or Adobe Spark are other free tools that you can use to make those kinds of images with text on them. And just another idea, like last weekend we had something called Pesto Fest, which is an event that we do for free for our farm members. And they came and they made pesto in our packing shed with our basil and our garlic. And it was funny, I just caught this great moment of two people that were like face to face with their blenders, and they were running them at the same time. And one was this high speed blender and one was this low speed blender. And it just was, to me, it just kind of showed they were laughing and they were having a great time. To me, it was almost like a testimonial. It was like a visual video testimonial of how my customers are having fun, how they're using the food, how they're learning a new skill, how they're getting to interact with their farmers. And so it wasn't like a quote, but it was a video image of, it was a testimonial. It just was a video testimonial of like casting vision for what it could be like if you were a part of this community. And so you can think about things like that, where you have a video and then you could take a testimony, take a sentence that you heard from them as they were talking about Pesto Fest and put it in the copy. So it's just you can look for ideas for how to showcase on your social media page, what you're doing, and then just put a phrase or a quote inside that copy. Okay, another suggestion, I think this is number 5, is just a blog post. Now, not all of you are bloggers, and that's okay. I almost feel like if you're not into writing a ton, don't stress yourself out and feel like you got to do a weekly blog. I just happen to really enjoy writing, and it comes pretty easy to me. So I always do a weekly blog for not only for Digital Farmer, but for my farm, Shared Legacy Farms. And sometimes the blog post lends itself to a testimonial. So you could do a case study where you actually highlight a particular member of your farm, and then you talk about how they've transformed, and then you could put a quote in there from them. You would put a picture of them as well. So that's one idea. You could also just do a plain blog post on a particular topic, and then depending on what the topic is, if you have a testimonial in your archives in that Google Doc that I talked about that kind of fits the topic, you can throw it in there. So if I did a blog post where I was teaching people how to make your own broth using vegetable scraps, I could, teach them how to do it in the actual blog post, but then I could also do a plug for the CSA, because I could say, this is the kind of stuff we teach. We teach these exit strategies to our community, and they're learning how to eat their food. And then I could have a testimonial from a customer kind of wedged in there in the middle of that blog post or towards the end, where I issue the call to action to join my CSA, and I have a link. So I happen to know that I have several testimonials of people saying, I never knew you could do this. This is so cool. This has been a deal breaker for me. And I could just sense the excitement of their membership in that testimonial. And it's kind of an evidence of a quick win. And so since I know I have a couple of those, as I'm writing this blog post, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I could go pull one of those out and stick it in here, because it automatically fits. There's alignment with that testimonial and the particular topic that I'm teaching on in the blog post. Does that make sense? Okay, and we talked about case studies. So that was the next one. I kind of jumped ahead. And then number 7 would be a testimonial page on your website. So I used to do this. I don't do this now just because I have a different way that I've organized my website, but I have seen farms do this where one of the sub-menus of their CSA tab is just testimonials. So if somebody is actually looking and they want to see what other people are saying, they would click on that, and it's just an entire web page that lists testimonials from some of your members. Now, I would also say that when you do this, don't put more than 3 or 4 on that page. If you've got a ton, it's a little overwhelming, and I think it can also just look a little, I don't want to say arrogant, but just a little like, oh, we're so awesome, look at this. 3 or 4 is enough to get the point across. And I used to put like 8 or 10, okay? So I'm right there. If you're doing that, don't feel bad. It wasn't until I heard that from Don Miller and I was like, ooh, you're right. So you really don't need to have more than 3 or 4 on that page. And if you choose the right ones that are really effective, and we've talked about the formula for a great testimonial, that's really all you need. So other just general things I want you to think about as you're creating and putting these testimonials in different places. Watch the length of the testimonial. You don't want it to be too long because, as I've said in other video trainings, people kind of scan websites or skim them now, and they look for those headlines and they look for the keywords to jump out at them. And they kind of skip over giant blocks of text. So even in your testimonial, if you have one that's like, this big with 4 or 5 sentences, that's almost a little too long. So I would just pick out the key phrases or the 1 or 2 sentences that really add a lot of value and just use those. I used to think you don't want to have short testimonials at all because there's not a lot of copy, not a lot of emotionally rich context language in there. And I feel like the more emotionally rich, the more visual, and the more you can tap into people's senses with the language, the better. But sometimes when you're creating some kind of a marketing asset, like if you're putting it on a flyer, or if you're putting it on a Facebook ad, or even if you look on the homepage of my website, there's just kind of like a small little banner image where there's not a lot of room to put a long testimonial. So I needed to find something that was punchy and short and pithy, but that got, the gist of it across. So I picked one that really focused on the emotional connection with the farmers, because I know that that's the number one reason that people join my CSA and want to join a CSA in the first place. So rather than focus on one about the quality of the food and how great it was, I was like, if I only have to pick one for a short, pithy one, I'm going to focus on a testimonial that talked about how they feel a connection with their food and their farmer. And I just felt like that encapsulated the essence of what we were all about. Okay, so sometimes short is good just because you need a spot. There's a great spot for one and you just don't have a lot of real estate. But you definitely want to look for testimonials that have a lot of that emotionally rich copy in them. And that's what's kind of hard to find. That's why you have to take the time to collect them, because every now and then you get some of those. All right. Also, finally, just place the right testimonial in the right context. So just remember that if you've got let's say you decide to put a testimonial on your frequently asked questions page, which I hope some of you may have. This is a great page to have on your website because people often have objections to wanting to buy. They have questions. They're not sure. There are these obstacles they're hitting up, like, well, how often do I have to pay, and how much is it, and am I going to get all the food that I want, or am I going to get what you want? I mean, there are these common questions that we get, right? And so it's keeping them from buying. So often we have a frequently asked questions page. So if you have a testimonial that deals with one of those objections, why not put it on the objections page, on your frequently asked questions page, kind of around that objection, again, near a call to action button. So you can think about, putting the right testimonial in the right spot, or if you have different kinds of products that you're trying to sell on your website, not just a CSA, but maybe you have a market card or something, an e-card, or some other feature that I'm just spacing on right now. If you have testimonials about the different products, you would put them in alignment with those different pages, right? So just be making sure that it makes sense what they're promoting and where they're at. Okay, so that's it. That's my list of the top places that you could put your testimonial. I have put those in I think I put them in every single one of those, but definitely the top 3 are my favorites. So if you only have a little bit of time, I would focus on your website homepage, putting it on your email marketing sales sequence for sure. And then if you have time, you can put them as a Facebook ad, just kind of put that into the mix of your Facebook ads. So your challenge for this coming week is to do one of these things. Just take 10 minutes and put a testimonial on your homepage, if you can swing that, or make a Facebook ad that's just a testimonial and just kind of play around with that. Okay, so that would be my challenge to you. I had one other idea that I thought was a good one. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm really excited to do this. At the end of my CSA season, I like to have a challenge like every 3 or 4 weeks just to kind of keep my community engaged and really focused on something. And so what I've decided that I'm going to do is at the end of my season, probably the last 3 weeks, I'm going to have a testimonial challenge. And this is where I'm going to give out an award or a prize, not an award, but a prize to a random person that I choose at the end from whoever enters. And that person will probably get $100 off next year's membership. And what I'm going to ask them to do, the challenge will be to write a testimonial. And I'll give them some different ways, some different methods for doing that, a video, an audio, a written something down. But anyone who enters has to tag it a certain way. And then I'm going to collect these testimonials. And remember, not only is that going to give me all kinds of stuff from my arsenal, but it's also going to force them, it's going to allow them to make that step of saying, I love you, I love this farm. And the minute that someone says that out loud, something happens in the brain and it causes them to stay loyal to you. So I'm trying to coach that testimonial process to happen. And that might be one way that you can consider doing that, is offering a testimonial challenge. And all they have to do to enter is give you one and then hashtag it a certain way. Okay, so if you've liked the content that you've been hearing in here, and maybe you're watching this on YouTube somewhere later and not live in our group, then I want to just encourage you to find my private Facebook group where I do a training like this every week. You can find it in a couple of ways. You can just do a search for CSA Marketing, I think that's what it's called, and you'll find us. Or you can go to my website, mydigitalfarmer.com, and there will be a way for you to find it there as well. I also want to encourage you to follow my CSA farm on Facebook, Shared Legacy Farms. That's one of the first things that I did when I first began to explore how to get better at social media and get better at marketing, is I found a farm that I thought was doing a good job, and I just watched how they posted, what they posted, how they talked, what kinds of ways they were using to generate leads and get people pulled into their brand and become a part of their tribe and identity. And I began to not copy their posts, but copy their methods. And so that might be a really good strategy for you. If you like how I teach, or you're interested in how I'm doing this with my farm, just start following my Facebook page, my business page, and you can kind of get some ideas for the kinds of stuff that you could be doing as well. All right, thanks for joining me, guys. And remember, I'll be giving you information about that masterclass on how to build your own launch early bird promotion campaign for your current CSA members, to issue that this fall. And maybe, hopefully, as a result of going through that workshop and process with me and getting it done alongside me, you might be in a place where you have a lot more retention, a lot more people signed up by Christmas time, and that peace of mind is amazing. Have a great weekend, and I'll catch you next week, Monday or Tuesday. Not sure how it's going to fall, but hope you guys are doing well. Stay strong, believe in yourself, you can do this step by step, step by step. See ya, bye.